In this segment of the Ellis Martin Report, Ellis speaks with Scott Petsel, president of Metallic Minerals, trading as MMG on the TSX Venture Exchange and as MMNGF in the U.S. on the OTCQB. Metallic Minerals is a growth stage exploration company focused on the acquisition and development of high-grade silver and gold projects within underexplored districts proven to produce top-tier assets. The company's objective is to create value through a disciplined, systematic approach to exploration, reducing investment risk and maximizing probability of long-term success. Their core Keno Silver project is located in the historic Keno Hill Silver District of Canada's Yukon Territory, a region which has produced over 200 million ounces of silver and currently hosts one of the world's highest-grade silver resources. Metallic's La Plata Silver Gold Copper project is located in the high-grade La Plata district of the prolific Colorado Mineral Belt. The company is also building a portfolio of gold royalties in the historic Klondike Gold District. Metallic Minerals is led by a team with a track record of discovery and exploration success, including large-scale development, permitting, and project financing.
Hey, Scott. Welcome back to the program. Great to visit with you today.
Good morning, Ellis. I hope all is well.
All is well. I can't complain. I've been traveling all over the world. Just came back from the International Mining and Resource Conference in Sydney, Australia a few days ago. Before that, it was Boise, Idaho for a mining conference. Before that, it was Mont-Salan for a silver site tour. I won't mention the company on your dime. Then I'm heading to England in a couple of weeks for Mines and Money. So I've been traveling. And I was in Vegas not too long ago, actually, where you reside. They've opened up that big sphere where you two has got a seat there for, I guess, several weeks or maybe a few months. What's that like?
Residency, yes. Did you happen to see it while you were here, the outside of it?
I saw the outside of it. It blew my mind just looking at it while I was driving down the freeway.
It's amazing, yeah. We have a bit of a view of the strip, and it kind of lights up our bedroom at night when it's changing colors. And it's pretty amazing from the outside. This is the world's largest spherical building, from what I understand, and it's got millions of LED lights on the outside, and it looks from far away like a very high resolution screen. But when you go inside, we had the opportunity to go see U2 perform, and they've been there since September 30th. They've got a residency, so they're playing like every other night for a number of weeks, and actually extended into the new year here. So there's still a chance to go see, but it's the highest resolution screen you can ever imagine. It's got 180,000 speakers and some of the purest, cleanest noise that you could ever imagine. And then the seats are haptic. They vibrate at time, and there's smells. So it's kind of like that flyover Vancouver, if you've ever been to it, down near the boat docks, but on a much grander scale. And the screen is tremendous. It dwarfs the band. And it's interesting how different performers are going to utilize that screen with such high resolution and such ability to capture the imagination. I think it's going to be a very interesting venue for a long time to come, but it took $2 billion to build, and I think it's going to take a while to pay it off too. So
I can't imagine the experience. The only thing that comes close in my mind is going to the planetarium when I was in high school back in the 70s. That might be something similar, but tell me something. Prior to your work at Metallic, you know Alaska, you know the Yukon, you know that complete area. How'd you wind up in Vegas? You don't look like a Vegas guy. Neither do I, for that matter. I mean, how does that happen?
It's kind of a long story, but I spent over 20 years living in Alaska, in Juneau, Alaska. And in Juneau, you get over 90 inches of rain every year. It's sunny for about 60 days a year, and it wears on you over time. And so for me, back more than a decade ago, I decided I needed some sunshine and wanted to have a place where I could play some golf. So we ended up buying a condo down here and just spent a few weeks during the winter, just after the recession. So we got a really good deal on a great buy for a condo out in Lake Las Vegas. And it's been really good. We ended up moving down for other reasons in 2015 and bought a house and have been here really in this new house of ours since 2018. So we're excited to be here.
I think you're one of the only people that I know that is, I would say, an Alaska Yukon work resident who spends most of his time outside of work in Las Vegas. You've chosen well. How'd you get together with Greg Johnson and Bill Harris and Chris Ackerman and all the guys at Metallic?
Greg Johnson, our CEO and chairman, our relationship goes back to 1999, maybe. He was working for a company called Placer Dome back in the day. It's become Barrett. Placer was in need of a geologist. Well, I'll step back a second. Greg was working with Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen, who is now Contango and American Copper Development Corporation. Rick was the vice president of exploration for Placer Dome, and Greg worked with Rick, and they needed a geologist to go into Russia and work on some of the projects in Russia. Sukhoi Log, which is one of the largest undeveloped gold deposits in the world. I think it's, last I heard, it had like a 60 million ounce resource. And then Natalka, which is in the Russian Far East, is another deposit. It's got like 40 million ounces of gold. So I went over to Russia for a year and worked on those couple of deposits for Placer Dome. And that's where I met Rick and Greg. But 3 weeks after they hired me, they left and eventually founded Nova Gold. And I was hired back as part of the co-founding team for Nova Gold. And we did all the development of the Donlin Creek deposit, which is now 40 million ounce gold deposit in Alaska. Galore Creek in British Columbia, northern British Columbia, which is a alkalic porphyry deposit. Almost, well, it is the nearest analog to metallic minerals is the Plata project in Colorado now. But that was a 12 billion pound copper deposit with 250 million ounces of silver and 10 million ounce plus of gold. And then the Ambler Bornite project in the Brooks Range in northern Alaska was another Nova Gold project initially that became Nova Copper, and now Trilogy that is working on the Arctic Bornite deposit. And so we had a great run over a decade in Alaska with Nova Gold, working with Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen and Greg Johnson. And as that sort of wrapped up for me in 2015, by 2016, Greg was forming Metallic Minerals and called and asked if I wanted to join as the vice president of exploration for the company and really focus on our project in the Yukon. So having had all that northern experience and familiarity with Greg and how we do things and seeing how the opportunity could grow, I couldn't see a way not to participate.
You know, as long as I've known you, I didn't know the history you just shared with us today. And I should be asking Greg, and I will at some point, with a success like Nova Gold and the success that Rick has had, and he's now with Trilogy, I mean, why do you keep at it? I think if I had that kind of success, maybe I would just explore every part of the earth or stay home.
Because it's fun, it's fun. We're addicted. We like this. This is what we do. It's not only our career, but our recreation at the same time. So that's kind of the mindset of a lot of these junior explorers, right? And you know this well enough. It's a risky business, and it's a bit like gambling in some respects. If you have the skill sets and you have the right people and you have that ability, like I think Greg and I do, to recognize where value can be created in these assets, then you see that opportunity to be successful. And that's fun. Aside from the adventure part of flying around in helicopters and drilling holes in undeveloped deposits. So,
well, I agree with you. The adventure and the thrill and the gambling aspect of it are unmatched. And the people are great. And
yes.
The general public doesn't necessarily understand mining. On its face, it looks a little boring, but it is exciting, and I can't get away from it.
Agreed. It's a tough thing to give up. And I know I've got a number of productive years left in me, so I'll stay in as long as I'm still having fun. So
we've settled that. So how excited are you about the Keno Silver project?
Well, I'll tell you, Keno Silver is still a very important asset for us. We focused a lot of our effort this year on our La Plata project in Colorado, but we did have a drill program at Keno and advanced, I think, very nicely our target area that we call FORMO. I think that's an acronym for fear of really missing out, but it's just the FORMO target as far as I know. But FORMO is a target that we've drilled as an in-holding that we own within the Hecla mining ground as our brownfields next door neighbor, where Hecla is working to restart full production their Keno Hill operations. And their Q3 report just came out. They produced over 700,000 ounces of silver in Q3 and are continuing exploration on their project and having success doing exploration. But a lot of that exploration is deep. Birmingham is their flagship deposit of a number of their areas that have resources, and they're working to develop Birmingham. But mineralization starts at about 150 meters and bulk of it is at 400. And they're looking and exploring deep and around the edges of that. And what we're finding particularly like at Formo, is mineralization that starts at surface, and the bottom of our drilling, our deepest intercept at Formo is 250 meters. So just recapping, I know that was kind of a broad reach of a number of things there, but we drilled 1,000 meters at Formo this year, a little over. That's 4 holes. One of the holes we encountered what looks to be 50 meters of mineralization with 1.5 meters of massive sulfide. And Formo deposit itself, again, is from 200 meters up to surface and will be a part of the new or inaugural resource estimate that we're going to make for the Keno Hill project in the near term. So this new drill results, very exciting, going to be added to this resource before we announce the inaugural resource in the near term. And that Formo target is one of 4 that's going to be a part of that resource across the property.
I think I've been out there probably about 5 or 6 years ago with Greg and a few other members of your company. Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you or aren't you Alexco adjacent and they're now Hecla?
That's right. That's the story. So Alexco came into the district in like 2007. Took them 3 years and about 30,000 meters of drilling to announce their inaugural resource on that project, which was 20 million ounces of silver at the time. And that resource is now over 100 million ounces. And Hecla acquired them in September of 2022. And again, they're working to reestablish nameplate production by the end of this year. I think their forecast as of the last quarterly is a little less than what they'd expected originally announced.
I mean, you're literally right there from my memory, and it's a nice piece of real estate that you have.
Well, that's why I talk about the Formo deposit a lot. As an in-holding within Hecla's ground, it's 3 miles from the mill. It's on the Silver Trail Highway. Power line is right there. I mean, the deposit is basically drilling right off the road. So shallow with open pit potential, but also high grade underground, operation potential at Formo and the in-holding within the Hecla ground. Then we have the whole east side of the district that we're continuing to explore. We've had great results in the past on our Caribou target, our Homestake target, and the new discovery we made in 2022, the Fox target out on the eastern end of the district, which is a different kind of mineralization. It's broad. Typically, the Keno district is narrow vein, high grade, silver lead zinc mineralization. And what we're seeing, and steeply dipping, so amenable to underground mining methods. And what we're seeing out on the east side is very shallow dipping, zones of sheeted veins up to 177 meters thick at a more modest grade that's more amenable to an open pit mining style, which would have presumably reduced development costs. So a cheaper development cost that should make it attractive, not only for a company like Hecla, but others like, Discovery Silver that are advancing Cordero in Mexico right now at a similar grade.
You're name dropping there for a reason. I'll bet you've had conversations with these companies, but I won't make you commit to that answer right now. I'll tell you why I'm excited, because I've been there. And really the audience, most people listening, 99.9% of the folks listening right now have not been there and will never go, unfortunately. It's a beautiful part of the world to see, especially in the summer. What an amazing place. Fact remains that proximity, location, and history are everything. And the history of the Yukon just in the last 10 years has been astounding. I mean, you really can't call it greenfield if you can build a mine within 2 or 3 years, can you?
No, I mean, that's the beauty of a good, stable jurisdiction and a regulatory environment. Obviously, everywhere you go, there are challenges that way, but we think the Yukon is one of the right places to be, not only to explore, but to develop mines. And clearly that was borne out with Hecla's decision to purchase Alexco a little over a year ago. And they've said they additionally have made the acquisition of ATAC. It's kind of just to the east side of the Keno Silver District, that they consider Keno a beachhead for their operations and moving forward, because they see the Yukon as the right place to do work.
Speaking of jurisdiction, you're in Colorado. That's a very progressive state. I think it's easy and it's difficult in some spaces. What's happening with La Plata? How have you found that to be?
Well, we've been in Colorado working since 2019. This is our 3rd drill program. Although our previous programs have been small, this is our 3rd one. We're going to end up drilling somewhere on the order of 5,000 meters on the program, our La Plata project this year. And so far, relatively smooth sailing. And, I think Colorado as a jurisdiction, it was ranked 5th in the Fraser Institute survey of investment attractiveness, I think is the terminology used in the survey globally. So Nevada was number 1 or 2. Colorado was 5th if you would have considered Colorado a nation, because Argentina, Brazil, all those others are in there. But Colorado was 5th globally for investment attractiveness of a survey by the Fraser Institute of mining CEOs. We think it's a great place to be. Newmont is headquartered in Denver, global headquarters. They have a open pit gold mining operation, Cripple Creek. That deposit is an alkalic porphyry deposit. It's very similar to the La Plata project in southwest corner of Colorado. And Newmont, with their now completed acquisition of Newcrest, is a 9.5% equity owner of Metallic Minerals. And we think they're going to continue to have an interest in working in Colorado on the La Plata project with us.
So you have 2 flagship properties in essentially great jurisdictions with majors sniffing at your doorstep.
That's the scenario we like. Yeah. And that's basically the truth. So we're continuing to work closely with the Newcrest staff and interested in have met and worked a little bit with the Newmont people, but interested in continuing that relationship and continuing to develop our prospects through additional exploration. So this 5,000 meters that we've drilled at La Plata, we basically are following up on that 816 meters of continuous mineralization that ran 0.41% that had intervals of very high grade material, and particularly at the end where we had 5 meters of 5% copper and with attendant precious metals, not only silver, but gold and platinum and palladium. And so our drill program this year was designed to see if we couldn't exceed those results from that hole last year. And we're just about to finish the last hole, the 5th hole of the program. And we're waiting to see what those assays are going to look. But we're encouraged by what we're seeing in the drilling.
Sounds like good news all around. One more thing, you've got some residual income in the Yukon that comes to the company while you're awake and while you're asleep. Let's talk about that.
Well, in January of this year, we signed an agreement with a fellow that some people may be aware of. His name is Parker Schnabel. He is a TV star on the hit show Gold Rush that's shown on the Discovery Channel. And he's an alluvial miner in the Yukon Territory in the old historic Klondike district, where they produced over 20 million ounces historically. For those of you that follow the show, new episodes have been coming out within the last month or so. At the end of last season, he ran out of productive ground in the Indian River drainage. Our Australia Creek property was very close to that as the upstream continuation of what he was working on. And so we were able to sign the agreement. We had a lot of flooding and a lot of rain and issues with water and delaying our work this year, but we did establish a starter pit on our property where from his production, we're receiving a 10 to 15% royalty on that production. And so our expectation early on was probably a little more, but with the delays and the starter pit approach, we're still going to produce somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 ounces that we'll have that royalty on. So it is residual income for us. And the beauty of it is we think we'll see an expansion of that production next year, but we also have the ability to expand the royalty through the process of adding additional operators. As we're the 3rd largest landholder of alluvial or placer mining claims in the Yukon territories. And we're continuing to consolidate those land packages, explore them, and make them interesting for additional large-scale operators like Parker to come in and build out the royalty side of this business to help fund our company and our exploration activities without having to dilute our shareholders continuously with additional raises.
Sounds like a great story all the way around.
I think so. And that's why I'm here. It's exciting. And we're all excited. Metallic Minerals. I think we've got a lot of catalysts coming. Drill results from Keno, drill results from our La Plata project, an inaugural resource for our Keno Silver project, perhaps new announcements about royalty agreements on our alluvial projects, all of that leading into likely an updated resource at La Plata sometime in the spring, summer of 2024 as well. So,
God, every time I talk to you, I feel better. I get better news about Metallic and about the Yukon and about the business that we're in, no matter what the market's doing. It's darn exciting. And when it turns around, I think everybody's going to benefit. Thanks so much for joining me today again on the program.
Thank you, Ellis. I enjoyed it very much.
We've been speaking with Scott Petsel, president of Metallic Minerals, trading as MMG on the TSX Venture Exchange and as MMNGF in the U.S. on the OTCQB. For more information, go to the company's website, metallic-minerals.com. That's metallic-minerals.com. This is the Ellis Martin Report.
Would you like to be one of the first to see who we are following? Subscribe to our audio newsletter. It's free. ellismartinreport.com.